You have no idea what this is, but you love it. This is Zed Run. This is the horsey game. And breeding is something that is going to be coming back into the horsey game because right now it is not up. So Pinkman actually has really, really, really good bloodlines. And I'll get into this later. Like, you know, Billions is the horse that sold for like 125,000. Like one of the best Z1 Genesis that exists. You know, big profitable horse, 48% positive ROI. His grandmother was 190% ROI. Produced Scrooge McDuck, which produced Pinkman with kind of, you know, an unknown and like a kind of average bad horse. You know? It says 892 ROI, but like with a win percentage of that is odd. And also on his mom's side, big time loser horse. Right? But Z1, 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 Z2, 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 and all Nakamoto's. The father and the mother being both Nakamoto. So it's a clean Nakamoto line. Right? I think that Poseidon Racing called it stacked Naks. Stacked Nakamoto's, which I think is kind of a cool term. And most of my audience is fantasy football based and DFS based. So like understanding stacking is something that is inherent to that crowd. So stacking one bloodline and keeping a clean bloodline throughout your lines, I think that you have a increased chance. So like, also before I start this discussion from my side, I need to be extremely clear that we don't know. There's a lot of unknown when it comes to all of the breeding in Zed. And I am being very upfront about the fact that with those unknowns, I don't know. Right? I'm very clear about saying I don't know. And I think it's totally okay to say I don't know. I think people get into problems. Come on, click. Thank you. I think people get into problems when they want to come off like they know and they speak extremely definitively about something that there's no possible way for them to know. Steph Curry, this is a ridiculous horse. All the way at the bottom. We're talking about I'm centering this discussion because like Genesis horses, we don't know about their parents. They're created by Zed Run. Here to horse around. I'm here for all the horsing around. Genesis horses just come from the factory. So we can't really dig into where they came from. But like once we get down to this elite level, right? So like 2 Genesis horses produce a legendary horse. A legendary and a Genesis produce an exclusive. A legendary and a legendary produce an exclusive. So you have first generation are Genesis, second generation are legendary, third generation are exclusive, fourth generation are elite. But you can produce a legendary. You can produce an exclusive with an exclusive and a Genesis. So you can stay at that third generation without going down to elite and cross by breeding a legendary, or sorry, an exclusive horse with a Genesis horse. Here's a random, and I know that their stable is here. Genesis parent, complete unknown, crossbreed, Buterin with a Nakamoto. Produced one of the best horses on the platform. A Z10 legendary. Vanilla Bean, who's an absolute bonkers horse, right? An unknown Z1 with a loser mom produced a ridiculous horse. What is typically a good odds range for a horse, assuming that they are not one of the best? So if your horse is pulling sub 10 odds, you have a good horse. But you also have to figure out what races is your horse pulling sub 10 odds in, right? And sometimes that can come down to, because there's no divisions right now. There's classes, class 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. But within those classes, there are superstar horses. Now, what is happening is the people, there's no new horses being put out there. So people are away from the game. It's kind of like Tarkov late wipe, where like everybody's running out their best stuff. I'm only racing 2 horses really, and most specifically 1 horse. And I'm only racing that 1 horse in the $2.50 races, because that's where she pulls the best odds. If I put her in $5 races, she's pulling worse odds because she's racing against more vanilla beans, more Steph Currys. If I put her in $10 or $15 races, she's definitely racing against some superstar horses and pulling 12 to 14 odds. And I think that's bad for my horse. It's bad for me as a businessman with this horse because, and I'll pull the horse up real quick. Here, not my favorite thing. It's EWO. So as you can see, EWO wins a lot of races, 21% win rate, 29% on the podium. Basically when she wins, or when she's podiums, she wins. She runs away with races. But positive ROI. Her negative ROI comes in, she's not a class 3 horse, loses all the time in class 3, right? Then she bumps down to class 4 where she's a monster. So her odds, if I put her in these are the 0.0009 entry fee, like whatever, these are the cheaper races. When I race her in the cheaper races, typically, this is when I stop because people were getting online, like with their big horses in the $2 races. She's pulling sick odds. Right? Sub 10, 7.6, 7.9. As you see, when I put her in the higher dollar races, she was pulling 12s, 14s. So what that does is that drags her average odds by distance higher, which hurts the resale value. You can sell a horse that gets 7, 8s across the board for way more than a horse that pulls 9s and 10s across the board, because that horse can farm Ethereum better than the horse that pulls 10 odds, 11 odds. So for me, it's about protecting my asset by putting her in the right races. And until they get divisions where she's not going to race against some of these superstars like Pinkman, like Steph Curry, and like Vanilla Bean, when she's in a race with those 3 horses, and right now you're in a race with all these horses, she gets those 12 to 14 to 15 odds. When they're not in the race, she pulls 7 to 9. So you're shooting for sub 10 as low as you can get. And you got to find getting in where you fit in is really the key there. Essentially, all of this research that I did, looking at all the lines of these horses, and then I was digging in on Zed stats and know your horses and everything, looking at who the lineages were, and then what those parents, like they produced these big winners, but what else did those parents produce in terms of the foals that they made? And like, it's all over the place. Let's see this one, Atari or Atar. I'm going to say Atari because I like that name better. There's some funky stuff going on in Atari's bloodline here that we're going to show you. Atari's grandma on her father's side, or is it a he? Yeah, it's a he. Parents, Genesis, parents, Genesis, parents. Okay. Atari's inbred. Atari came from losing horse. So the philosophy that you need to breed a winner with winners to produce another winner, I think is flawed. Now, you're not allowed to... You can't inbreed from the same generation, but I think you can inbreed down the line. Right? So, like... Atari's his grandmother on the father's side is his great-grandmother on the mother's side. Something else to take into consideration. I don't know why it's not letting me show the parents of this one and why it's eliminating this when I do it, but whatever. Makes you happy to hear that inbreeding is a thing? Atari is probably a case of either genes skipping generations, being silent in one gender or the other, a mutant, so many genetic possibilities. Yes. And you're going to hear this from me a lot. We don't know what we don't know. There's an awful lot of factors. There's an awful lot of factors in play, and we don't know all of them. And so you're not going to hear me speak with very much certainty. I'm going to tell you what I found, but I'm not going to speak with a ton of certainty. This is going to hurt Louis' feelings. But that's not the point. I'm not trying to hurt Louis' feelings. It's never the point. I'm never here to hurt anybody's feelings. But Louis, what are you doing selling this horse? Another inbred horse, BT dubs. Moonlight Graham, another sicko, is also great-grandfather on the father's side, is the grandfather on the mother's side. Again, I don't know what the answer is. I'm not claiming to know what the answer is. I'm trying to make this fit perfectly on screen so you can see them. And you can look up any of these horses and see how they did. You can look up... Dottie Hinson's an awesome name. Let's put him over here for clarity. Now, Moonlight Graham is crossbred. And is crossbred on the mother's side. Common Muse was a Nakamoto. Tail Gunner was a Finney. But there's a lot of Nakamoto blood in here, right? So we have a Z1, a Z2, a Z2, a Z1, another Z2, and then a Z3 Nakamoto here. So I think that stacking Nakamotos to produce downline class 3, 4, 5 racers, you're seeing this a lot. A lot of the racers down the line, not necessarily the second generation, not the first kids, not the second kids, but that third generation. Oh my God, I hate you. Is he doubly inbred? You've got to be kidding me. What in the West Virginia is going on in this bloodline? Somebody want to help me out here? So Dangerfield and Fierce Savage had Gandhi. And then Gandhi had Kit Keller. Gandhi goes here. Take me home. Nope, DMCA. So Moonlight Graham is a 7-leg horse, essentially. He's like the three-eyed fish from... He's the three-eyed fish from The Simpsons. His grandfather has blood in both his mother's and his father's side of the line. Not unlike Atari. Vanilla Bean's a weird. Like, look at the lines, right? So, like, you don't have to stay within one bloodline being Nakamoto, right? So Nakamoto, every horse in Pinkman's line is a Nakamoto. Every single horse in it's a Nakamoto only breed line. But we also have cross breed lines, right? Where the father's side is all Nakamoto. So you have a lot of Nakamoto Genesis blood. And the mother's side produced Finney, you know, they crossed on this side and then produced downline Moonlight Graham. The crazy thing is, like I said, I looked at like 20 different horses yesterday. I looked at what their lines were. And while there are some similarities, like I said, you end up getting search, damn it. You end up seeing some similarities. But you also find some things that don't add up, right? So main event is a buterin or buterin, whatever. But look at the father's side of the line. Wall Street and Ace of Spades produced Blade. Dark Knight was the crossbreed that was not very good. And it tends to show. The one thing I've noticed is that when you crossbreed, that level below the crossbreed, like where you cross, like Reborn Racer and Cracked was a crossbreed, right? Buterin with Finney. They don't typically produce good horses when you crossbreed. But the next generation underneath them is where the winners come. And again, I don't know if this is randomness. So you can see here, Nakamoto, good horse. Nakamoto crossbreed, not a good horse. The grandkid under the crossbreed level. Crossbreed level here, crossbreed level here. Neither one of the parents were a winner. Both produced a winner here. We saw this also with Moonlight Graham. Crossbreed here, not a winner. Pure bloodline here, no stats. The generation after the crossbreed, winner. Okay, so these are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the horses. First one is Pinkman, one of the best horses. Second one is Steph Curry. Steph Curry is a sicko. Steph Curry can run in class 2 and still pull 7 odds. It was just fluff with the color of our, yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think it means anything, but like, I know people want, like, look at this. This is an absurd horse, right? And perfect U shape, loses as many races as it wins, which holds down his rating. He's an 11. He's in class 5 now. 62% ROI over 600 races. But like, if you look at, he's class 5, but he'll throw him in a class 3 and he still pulls 10 odds. And he's pulling 10 odds likely because this is a high dollar race, 0.06 ETH, almost 0.07, 2 divisions above where he belongs against everybody's best class 3 horse and still pulling that. Vanilla Bean was in this race. Platinum Spirit was in this race. Running Plank as a sicko horse was in this race. Main Event was in this race. Usual Protraction was in, like, what? So like, all these horses are in here, as opposed to when we get breeding back and like maybe 1 or 2 of these horses will be in each race. Right now, like, it's just steel on steel. It's absurd. Racing is very tough. That's the gentlest way to put that. Racing is stupid right now. Racing is dumb. Unless you're extremely selective, like I have been or have tried to be with Eyes Wide Open. And even then, you know, like, I can't make much money with Eyes Wide Open because I can only run her in the $2.50 races. I would make way more money with Eyes Wide Open if I just sold Eyes Wide Open. Let me read what Ryan wrote. If mutation function is increased as initial population size decreases, Nakamoto's are more prone to mutation than Zabo, Finny, Buter. I thought Buterin had the higher mutation rate. Tell me if I'm wrong, at least from what I've read. That would explain why Poseidon may want to continually stack Naka blood until he gets a mutant with drastically different performance than the parent line. That's kind of my point, right? Is that if you get down to like a Nakamoto that's class 7 through 10, when you breed down to that level, like Pinkman is a Z7 elite Nakamoto, I think that you're giving yourself okay, so I'm right. Higher mutation rate in Buterin. Yes. Okay, traits carry more reviews. Okay. Again, this is going to cause more correct to Nielsen. Okay. I think keeping a Nakamoto bloodline clean is an easier path to exclusive and elite superstar racers, from what I've been able to gather, regardless of the parents. It wouldn't make sense to have higher mutation rate. I think it's okay. How can I say this properly? Sometimes things are difficult to put out. So like, it's kind of the Trey Lance argument for those of you who do Zed Run and fantasy football. We talked a couple of weeks ago about how Trey Lance might have the largest gap between his floor or his current, either his floor or his current ability and what his ceiling can ultimately be, as opposed to him having the highest ceiling, right? So while the Nakamoto line is more the Trevor Lawrence, right, where he's got a really good floor, really high floor, and possibly a higher ceiling, the Buterin line or the Buterin line, I still don't know how to pronounce it. It's one or the other, and I'm going to probably say it both ways forever. Has the largest gap. Still has the same ceiling as a stacked Nakamoto line. You can still produce a super stud racer, albeit in lower divisions than a higher Z. You know, it's much tougher for a Z10 to build up to class 1, to build up enough points to be in class 1 and be a superstar, but can be an absolute crusher in class 3 and 4, than for like a Z2, Z3 that's a couple of down the line, like Scrooge McDuck per se, right? To produce an exclusive Z3 or Z4 that turns into a class 2, class 1 superstar. Buttes, yeah. Your Buterin runs knock us off the track in class 1. Like I said, it's... See, that's... What Carter just said kind of gets into the problem. And the problem is people use the smallest subset, the smallest sample, to try to disprove the whole. Right? If you were to say male professional athletes are stronger, bigger, and faster than female professional athletes, right? You would be right. Right? That's not controversial. That's just a thing. Draw a curve for all the male athletes. I didn't want that to be that. Damn it. No, F. Whatever. If we were going to draw a curve with all the male athletes in the world, a bell curve, right? With like here, and then the meat of the curve, and then like the professional athletes here, right? This is the men. I cannot draw in paint to save my life. Right? And then we were to draw a similar curve for the women, female athletes, right? The meat of the bell curve would be here. And then the elite athletes at the high end of the curve would be here. These are your, US women's soccer players. These are your WNBA players, whatever. To say that men are stronger than women, you would be not incorrect, right? In general. However, the men here are not stronger, faster, bigger than the females here. Right? It might be bigger, but like, they're not stronger, they're not faster, they're not more skilled. And to me, that's kind of where we are with that horse argument, right? So like, while the Nakamotos have a greater chance to be that superstar horse in class 1 and class 2, there are definitely some superstar Z8, 9, 10, probably 12s or whatever that are going to class into class 1, pull great odds. They're going to be the freaks, right? But they're freaks. So your odds of breeding a Z10 Nakamoto is going to be better. Breeding a Z10 Nakamoto that is a superstar is going to be a greater chance than a Z10 Genesis Butte that is also a superstar. Plus, once you get down the line with the Buttes, if you have 2 Z8s, now you're producing a Z16. Then the next one, even if you breed with a Z1 and crossbreed it, you're going to have a Z17. Good. So we're on the same page. So like, I don't like the anecdotal stuff. It always bugs me, right? So it's like, look, Nakamotos are more likely to be studs in class 1. Well, I have a Buterin that's a stud in class 1. Okay, but that means nothing. That doesn't disprove the argument that we're making here, that you are more likely to get there with a Nakamoto line, especially if you go Z1 producing a Z2 legendary, Z1 with the Z2 producing a Z3 exclusive. Now you're getting a lot of Z1s into that line and trying to produce winners there. Right? at the higher levels, and the way that it seems like Zed Run is pricing things. And maybe this will change. But they really bumped up the prices of those class 1 races. $25, $50 for entry fee as opposed to $2.50 for class 4, class 5. Right? So producing a winner in class 1 and class 2 as a racer is way more lucrative than producing a winner in class 3, 4, or 5. While you can have a great ROI in class 3, 4, or 5, and I think that they're going to keep trending in that direction, you know, from an ROI standpoint, oh, my horse has a 90% ROI. It's better than your horse that produces 30% ROI. Yeah, but my horse is producing more money because I get to play at, well, quote, high stakes for Zed, like 25, 50, or maybe $100 races. My horse has a 20% win rate in $100 races. Your horse has a 20% win rate in $2 races. So your horse might have a higher ROI, but like you made $1,000 and I made $20,000, right? Is a totally different story. So that's where I think the power is in Pinkman's line, is trying to produce an exclusive level horse, right? Trying to produce an exclusive level horse like Scrooge McDuck, but good. And now we've got to get into the why is it good? You think people only breed based on win rate? There are other things that we can consider too. What class they run, variable consistent results, finishing position distribution. Some of the horses that are now winners came from horses that finished 2, 3, 4, 5 consistently. So a lot of the horses that are winners, as I'm showing you, right, as we go through all these lines, they don't have winning parents. Steph Curry doesn't even have winning grandparents. Vanilla Bean, all apologies to Honey Nut and Starlet, but they're trash. Look at the win rates here. Kit Keller and Mr. Clangtastic. I don't even know that this horse has been run. I can look up Clangtastic or not. Like maybe it was just a horse that got bred. Let's look him up. Mr. Clang. Mr. Clangtastic has run one race ever. Pulled 15 odds in a Griffin. That horse is gross. That horse is garbage. Vanilla Bean is a mute. Okay. Going with we don't know what we don't know. We were talking about this in the Discord, in the Zed Discord this morning. If you haven't joined the Zed Discord and you want to talk about stuff, go there, talk about stuff. We were talking about there being maybe 3 tiers of horses. I personally think that there's more, and maybe way more than tiers. Though I've never played Dungeons and Dragons in my life, just wasn't my thing. I believe that when you roll the dice, it's a lot like the 20-sided die. Maybe it's a 3-sided die. Maybe it's a 7-sided, whatever the hell. Let's not get lost in the semantics of how many tiers there are. But let's just agree that there are tiers of horses, and we can grade them. Okay, horses that pull 5 to 9 odds, horses that pull 10 to 14, 15 to 20, 21 to 25, 25 plus, right? If those are all the tiers, let's just say it as simply as we're going to oversimplify this. Keep it to that, right? I believe that if you put horses that have the genetic ability to be a winner or whatever, there's 2 ways that this can go. It's either completely random. And randomness is important for a game like this, because if this game is too easily solvable, then there's no game. Right? If it's as easy as getting some internet math wizards to come out here and say, look, I know that if I breed a horse that has these characteristics with this female horse that has these characteristics, or downline breed those horses with those characteristics, I will produce a super stud in class X, right? Without a doubt, know it will happen. Game is solved. Once the game is solved, it's over. Okay. It's my belief that it's not completely random, but it does have a massive amount of randomness involved in it, which is to say that if we have all those tiers that I just named, and I don't know how many I just put in there, let's say 8 for the purposes of having it be a die, right? I know dice have 6 sides. Don't stop. Now you're looking at a system where if you stack the right parents in a line together, I believe, and I could be completely wrong because as I've said, we don't know, but this is my belief and how I'm going into breeding when they open breeding very, very soon, TM. I think that if you breed correctly, you're going to give yourself a greater chance at one of those tier 1 or tier 2 horses. Right? Horses that pull ridiculous odds against any horse. That would be a tier 1 horse. I mean, Steph Curry is a tier 1 horse. He's going to pull Vanilla Bean's a tier 1 horse. He's going to pull sick odds no matter what race you put him in, no matter what class you put him in. They're freaks of nature and they're amazing. The class 2 horse, let's say, is a horse that's going to pull really good odds against specific fields. Like Eyes Wide Open. Right? My horse. She pulls sub 9 odds against the right fields, and I have to carefully pick and choose which races I put her in order to maintain her resale amount, her resale price, and to maintain her ROI. And then you're going to go down the road. Class 3, class 4, or not class 3, but let's say tier 3, tier 4, tier 5, tier 6. So if you breed along certain lines correctly, I believe that you give yourself a better chance, albeit a small chance, to produce a winning horse. And we don't know what that small chance is. Could be 5%, could be 10%, could be 15%. Whatever that small percent is, I think you're increasing your percent. Let's say it's a 5% chance of producing that superstar. Let's say it's a 2% chance of producing that superstar. You can increase that chance by 50% by having really good breeding lines and solid breeding lines down the line. And maybe that 2% roll becomes a 3 or 4% roll. But there's still randomness. And you're still going to get situations like Vanilla Bean, where you have absolute studs come from absolute trash. And you're going to get what I believe is a very, very clean, well thought out good line for Pinkman. Z1 producing a Z2 legendary, bred with a Z1 who happened to be the best or one of the best Z1 Genesis horses that exists, producing an exclusive horse. On the other side, 2 Z2s produce a Z4 legendary, and then we get from legendary and exclusive down to an elite, where we have a class 3 through 5 murderer in Pinkman. A very, very clean line, no inbreeding, everything done the right way. Winning horse bred with an unknown produced a winning horse, 22% lifetime win rate. Billions, 15%, 16% win rate in class 1. Super stud horse, 48% ROI, produced Scrooge McDuck. Meh. And the talents from these 2 generations of positive ROI breeding skipped the generation with Scrooge McDuck and produced that good roll with Pinkman. So when I'm going into breeding, my suggestion for anybody who's new to breeding, anybody who is new to Zed Run breeding, there's people that have been doing this game's been around since 2019. There's people that have gone through multiple breeding cycles, already have their lines, already have everything set up. They clearly have more experience than me. Their depth of knowledge based on that experience is deeper than mine. That's my disclaimer. They theoretically know more than I know, but there's so much that we don't know, and therefore so much that they don't know and that I don't know, that a lot of this is best guess. So because of the best guess, and because of the fact that I went through, and I've gone through what? We've gone through like 6-7 lines today. Some that were random, some that were less random, right? Of all these down the line winning horses, like Main Event, like Monkey Tack, like Moonlight Graham, who's got some serious inbreeding issues, to Atari, who's a good horse, not a superstar amazing horse, but a winning horse nonetheless. Also some inbreeding that goes on there to maintain that lower number, a Z6 elite, right? To maintain that low number, that Z6, as opposed to getting up to Z20, Z25, Z50. The random horses like Vanilla Bean, who might have had a 1% chance with these two parents, but you ran pure and hit that 1% ball. To Steph Curry, who was a very clean Nakamoto line. I kind of want to go into the children for I have spoken, right? And we can do that on another video. But you look at the children for I am spoken on this really clean Nakamoto line, right? Nakamoto, 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 Nakamoto exclusive. You're going to produce elites from here on. But somebody, you know, we got Steph Curry, who's a Z13. Governor Flex is a Z7 with 18% win rate. So that's two outstanding horses. This one has not been raced. This one has 3 third place finishes, has not been raced, has not been raced. So we don't have a final on what this is. This one podiums but can't win. Uber Eats gift card. If I have spoken, who is not a winning horse, but has produced winning horses, was to breed and maintain a Nakamoto line, as Steph Curry is a Buterin because bred with closer to the truth. I think that the elite level or higher, if you breed with the Genesis, staying at exclusive, would produce more winners. You'd have a higher percent roll with this really solid line on this side of Steph Curry's bloodline. And then, like I said, I believe that Pinkman is, quote unquote, things were done the right way throughout the line. And you can see there's multiple stables involved here, right? I believe that there are a lot of things that were done right on this line. And then it produced a superstar horse in the 4th generation. So my advice to you, and exactly what I'm going to be doing in breeding once it opens up, is going to be, you need to plan out your lines. And because we don't know a lot, it's totally fine to try and experiment with your lines, but plan your lines for, you know, down to that 4th generation. So if you have a Genesis horse or 2 Genesis horses, and you're going to do some in-house breeding to create your lines like I'm going to do, and I kind of put mine here on a piece of paper, but I don't know if you can see it. So I've got mine that I've got, and here's the lines that I'm going to make. Trying to start my Nakamoto lines and create 4 different Nakamoto lines to keep the first 2 breeding generations clean from Genesis Nakamoto down to exclusive legendary and exclusive bloodlines through that Nakamoto bloodline, to see if I can produce a winner or more than one winner, is the way that I'm going to go. And if you're new to breeding, I think that you do need to put a little bit of thought into what you're doing, instead of just, when breeding first opened, I was like, oh yeah, I have this one, I'm going to breed it with this horse and then whatever. You might luck box a winner that way. But I think that you're going to increase your chances with the breeding dice roll by putting a little bit more thought into your lines along the lines of Pinkman. So that's it. Best of luck on the track. We'll catch you later.
He's a legend.